All right, my man, we're back.
We are. Sunday night.
Sunday night. Special night.
Yeah.
Well, Rocco's a busy man. We got the schedule's a little fluid.
My daughter's dancing Tuesday night, man.
There you go. Well, hey, that's
got a parent stuff.
Extremely important.
Exactly.
Okay.
Most important.
So, the debate. Did you watch it?
Yeah. Not all of it. Some
Who would want to torture?
There were too many people in it. There was too many people.
Yeah, there was way too many people in there.
Like it was interesting though to see Vivek. I mean, he was center stage, him and DeSantis. To see Pence like on the far end. I mean, it was just interesting to see. I think they're all kind of feeling each other out. Like there were some attacks. I think they were more, I don't want to say concerned or just couldn't figure out Vivek because he came out of nowhere in 4 months. These people have been in politics their whole life. And this guy's 4 months ago, no one knew of him. And now he's center stage in the first Republican debate. So I think that's causing them to be like, what the hell's going on?
I found it interesting that nobody really went after the front runner. Like, I think DeSantis did well because he really wasn't faced with any pointed questions.
Yeah, I agree. And who was I watching? There was an analyst. They were talking about that. They said DeSantis did well because he wasn't challenged.
Right.
I think they were more.
Why was that? Or was it just a tactical mistake?
Well, I think I think it was because people were so enamored and confused by Vivek. So they were wasting all their energy on him because they're like, who is this dude out of nowhere?
Haley went after him.
Well, right. So I mean, like out of nowhere 4 months ago, he's saying everything everybody thinks. He's saying in a way that is very colloquial. So I think
word. Colloquial.
It's a Sunday, man. I'll use one big word tonight. But I think that's why they did it. I think it was I don't know if it was a tactical mistake. I just think it was kind of like they're feeling each other out this first debate. Now I think the next debate will be a shit show.
Now, are they going to narrow it down? Like, how does that work?
I think they do. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they would narrow it down. I mean, because who were the two guys that were there?
Well, Asa Hutchinson. And is it Gorham? I can't pronounce his.
Burgum.
I'm sorry, Burgum. And is he's a governor of
somewhere?
North Dakota?
Don't even fucking know. Honestly, it's like, why are they?
I mean, he was very articulate. I think he actually had an injury that day, and he was barely standing, I think.
But my thing is, like, okay, like, you're just, like, there's no shot of them making it. Yeah, there's no shot of making the nomination.
Okay, so are we to assume that when you see people that are polling so low and they continue in the process, I believe that most people are not delusional. They know they're not going to win. Are they there because they want a government position in an administration? Is it a political career move for them to stay in there?
That's a good question. I think it is. I think it's one to get notoriety, to elevate their profile within the party. I think to show they're willing to do it, not maybe for this election, but down the road. Yeah, and to be part of the cabinet, to be a position within the administration. I think that's a lot of what it is. Because there are some people they know that you're just not gonna you're not gonna get the nomination unless everybody else dies. Like, that's it. So I think a lot of people do it. There is a political motive to it. I do believe that.
So Christie, really, his thing is to go anti-Trump. That's like what he's hanging.
Yeah,
that's what he's hanging. Because I really think that's. At least that's what he talks about.
He is the anti-Trump Republican. I mean, I believe.
Haley's a bit like that too, though.
Yeah, I just think that's a wrong strategy, especially like now. Like, Trump had his mugshot taken. He raised more. I think I saw an article. He raised more money than he ever did because of the mugshots. Mm-hmm. Like, are you shitting me? Like, I don't think they understand what this is doing. Like, it's not having the
uncharted
impact.
Territory. The whole thing is just uncharted territory. So no one really understands anything.
Yeah, I mean, the first president in all of our history. He's been indicted what, 3 times now? 4, 5, 4? I mean, like, we'll never see this again in our lifetime.
We say that.
But
the world keeps getting weirder.
I don't think
Never
we will
say that.
Well, true. It's a good point. Yeah, you're probably right. I'm not going to say that. I mean, we could have an alien president.
Aliens.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, I just think it's not having the impact they thought it was going to. He's not going to go away.
Why do you think that Vivek is resonating with people? Because he got a big bounce coming out of that debate.
I think he's young, he's energetic. He's saying things that people think, but I don't think have the foresight within how it works to know that's not possible. Like he's saying he's going to eliminate the Department of Education. He's going to eliminate like certain departments of the like the federal administrative state he keeps talking about. Great in theory. It's not going to, I don't believe that can happen.
It's not practical.
It's not practical. But again, he's playing to the people that like know enough about politics. Like, yeah, fuck the government. We want to get rid of all these people.
Yeah, it's an anti-government trigger is what it's very popular for conservatives to say. They've been saying it for decades that the Department of Education is out of control,
Yes.
yada yada, and it should be eliminated. Well, it probably needs reformed.
Yes.
But I don't think it needs eliminated.
And he's very much like Trump, but more polished. I don't know. I haven't dug into his background. Like he has a couple books he wrote. He was a CEO of a company. He's 38 years old.
Is he too young?
No, I don't think so. No.
For your own sensibilities.
No. I'd rather have someone young. Like, because again, we keep
Late 30s?
Here's the thing. The system's broken, yet we keep doing the same shit. We need a change, right? Maybe someone young with new ideas will come in and shake things up and make a change. Maybe we need that. Maybe we need someone that's so green that they don't have a clue that fixes everything, because there's no biases. There's no preconceived notions. Life hasn't told them things are a certain way for 50 years. Yeah. Now all of a sudden they're in politics. Like I mean, again, I don't know who I'd vote for, but I like him because I like what he says, whether it's shtick or not. Like, I don't know, but I've watched some of his stuff. I like that he's engaging on social media with people that most politicians wouldn't. Like, he's going on podcasts of like influencers, and
so it's smart.
It's very smart because he's reaching a wider audience, and he's talking very practically and pragmatically. That's what I like about him. And he's not throwing insults. Like, he's engaging in debate, but he's not turning it toxic. That's what I like.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the appeal about Barack Obama, appeal, there was plenty of things that there's different reasons why people voted for Barack Obama. But part of the appeal, I believe, was that he didn't have a long, somewhat jaded political history.
No.
To like go in and do deep dives and
Sure.
like find reasons to despise somebody, which most of these people who have been around a while, they have that.
Yeah, and I wish we could get away from that, because look,
But we do it though.
I know, but let's be honest. So say I'm 46 years old, right? Say all of a sudden my life changes and I get into politics, and 20 years from now, I'm 66 years old, I run for president. I've done stupid shit in my life, a ton of stupid shit in my life. Did I ever intend to run for president? No. Right. So that's where I have a problem. Like, we hold things against people. We don't look at the person standing before us. We look at the person who was standing way before that person.
100%.
And like, that's not fair. Unless you wake up one day when you're a teenager and say, you know what, I'm going to be president someday. I better live a perfect life.
Impossible.
It's impossible. We need to have grace. We need to give people the benefit of the doubt.
We talked about this on this podcast 1,000 times.
Yeah.
We need to find the ability to forgive and move forward.
Right.
And forgiveness is not a very popular, and it has nothing to do with religion. I'm talking about the act of acknowledging someone's misdeed, understanding the weight of it appropriately, and moving forward. We can't do that today.
No, because here's why. This is what I believe. I thought about this a lot after we've had those conversations. It's because we can't forgive ourselves. It's like we're looking in a mirror, right? Like, we can't forgive other people for their misdeeds because we haven't forgiven ourselves. Because if you look at people who have truly forgiven themselves for things and indiscretions they've had in the past, they're very forgiving people. But those people who can't forgive themselves cannot forgive others. Yeah. Like, I've learned that, and even like looking at people and looking at, you see people that see faults in others. It's because they haven't dealt with their own faults and flaws. And I think that's the same thing with forgiveness, right? And that's why I think we have such a hard time in this country to forgive, because we have a hard time forgiving ourselves.
Yeah, and on that subject,
That's
the
deep. Sorry, man.
technology of increasing the pace of technology
Yeah.
has provided so many more windows back into the past
Oh my God. Yeah.
that were never there 20, 30, 40 years ago in terms of like the availability of the average guy to go find this, and this about some stranger.
Yeah. Right. Like we always joke and say if they had camera phones when we were in college, none of us would be lawyers or professionals because we did stupid shit like dumb shit in college.
It's a new reality now for sure.
Yeah, and it's like you have to be careful, but again, like why? Like then we're not living our authentic selves.
True. It
And
rubs
like
up
I'd
against
rather
authenticity.
exactly. It rubs against sensibilities. I'd rather have someone that's truly authentic, and I know what I'm getting, and I'm okay with the indiscretions. I'm okay with the fault. Not, you're not, and there's something you're hiding. I don't trust that person.
Yeah, we had landmark moments in this society over the past 25, 30 years in politics where that heavy question was proposed to the society. Is it, do we only evaluate them based upon their administration and their political work, and do we leave the personal out of it? And I'm not sure we used to do that until Bill Clinton. And then Bill Clinton, the country had like a litmus test. Now they got to decide.
Yeah.
And I think the country decided at that time that, we're willing to forgive. At least I thought we were.
Yeah.
But now you fast forward with all this additional technology and all this social media and the interconnectivity of the web and all this rash of information, we've now forgotten how to forgive.
Yeah.
On a wide basis.
I agree with that. And again, like I think it's a really interesting topic, forgiveness and, in combination with social media and technology, because I do think that does play a part in it. But I do still come back to it. I think it's the bigger problem in society. We cannot forgive ourselves. And I know that's philosophical.
That's a whole podcast, buddy.
That's what I'm saying. But I really, cause I thought about, like, after that show we did, I thought about it a lot, and I'm like, because it was such an interesting discussion between the four of us. And I'm like, like we were all coming at it from different angles.
Right.
Like, what is it? How do I really see it?
Right.
And I started thinking about people that I know in my life that have a hard time forgiving people. And I know that those people there's something going on with them.
Yep.
Like they haven't forgiven themselves for something. Because I know people that are very forgiving people. They've done a ton of shit, but they've forgiven themselves for it. They've given themselves grace. And it's just an interesting philosophical debate in my mind.
Back to the debate. Anyone else or not impressed you? Any other moments from that debate that surprised you?
Pence surprised me a little bit because he seemed to be a little bit aggressive in certain instances.
But on a reactionary basis.
Yeah, and I don't.
He wasn't assertively aggressive.
He was. No, you're right, and I don't think it plays well for him.
Right.
Like I think being reactively aggressive, like I just don't think it plays well.
He was on the back foot the entire night.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he really was. I mean, you're on the end of the debate stage. You're kind of there already.
He handled it pretty well, I thought, because he got hit pretty good. But I don't think it helped him. It doesn't. He looks presidential visually.
Yeah, correct.
I think Asa Hutchinson has always looked presidential visually.
Yes,
and that does matter in politics.
Yes, I agree. Absolutely,
but it's far from being the most important thing.
No, and I think the other part that surprised me about Pence is that I felt like there wasn't substance past the messaging. Like I felt like he had the messaging down, but when he was challenged, like he couldn't get to the substance, and that's the part that I didn't like. Do you know what I mean? Like I felt like he was over prepared for the message, under prepared for the substance.
Isn't it so interesting how Donald Trump chose someone who's so vastly different than himself to be his vice president?
I think that's the exact reason why he did. It was the tamer side. He needed someone to play to that side.
Yeah.
If he chose someone that was like him or somewhat like him, that administration would have fucking burnt down the country. Like it would have went, I mean, people would have went crazy. Like Pence was at least a calming presence and a voice of reason during his administration, I think. Not saying Trump was like a crazy person, but I think Pence was like, okay, like he's the old dude that's mild-mannered.
Well, I think he was trying to reach the Christian right, too.
I'm sure, absolutely, definitely. Absolutely he was.
Yeah, it's just fascinating. So for me, what I found interesting was that Asa Hutchinson has always been a good speaker, calm, present well, but he just never seems to like win on a national basis. Two-time governor, I think, of Arkansas, and he just never seems to. The country does not resonate with him. I mean, I don't, and I can't tell you why, because I've watched his career for a long time and a lot to like about him, but it just doesn't have that thing that on a broad scale.
I'm 46 years old. I have no idea who he is.
Yeah, he's older. Yeah, he's certainly older.
I follow politics. It's just like he doesn't resonate. Like he doesn't have a national presence in my mind.
Yeah, he's tried. It just hasn't seen. And the other gentleman, I had no idea who he was, and I think he. How do they qualify again? You have to have at least 1% of the votes. Is that what it was?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'll Google that tonight.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So, before we change topics on debates, let me throw this out at you. So, do you think at some point in time we will, as a country, move toward the idea of not doing the formal shit show that was up there with talking heads, a staged studio audience, and everyone in their most prim and proper, stodgy, standing up appearance? That whole theater. Can we move away from this maybe at some point and find someone like a Joe Rogan, find somebody who's a successful podcaster and a great interviewer? I don't even someone like Howard Stern, someone who can sit down and do a deep dive on people. Take a long table, take the top 5 or 6 candidates.
Yeah.
Invite them to a seat in front of this long table with a couple microphones, a couple cups of coffee.
Yep.
Sit down with no commercials, no other talking heads, just one relatively established independent human being, and have a conversation with them in a more relaxed fashion, and let them go at it for a couple hours with no distraction, no propped up studio audience, no bullshit. It seems to me that format would yield so much more insight on these people.
I would love that. I agree would lead to insight. The only concern I would have is the tactical nature of it, because with debates, right, at least they rein them in when they're speaking over each other. They're politicians, right? You put 5 people in a room at a table like this with Joe Rogan, people are going to be talking over each other. The substance will be there,
even with Rogan there.
I think so. I mean,
really?
I do, because again, there's rules to a debate, right? They have established rules they all agree to. I mean, for the most part, they don't, hold to them 100%, maybe 90%, but at least there's somewhat of rules they're following. Each person's get an amount of time to speak, address a question, respond to a question. I love the idea, and I think it'd be awesome. My concern would be, can it be held in check? I understand Rogan's a great interview. Rogan's never interviewed 5 politicians at the same time who are vying for the biggest job in the world.
Yeah, I think tactically, or maybe administratively, I see the challenge. I do.
Yeah.
I just know that
it'd be great.
This is theater. This there's no reason it needs to be staged with citizens in there. The citizens are watching it on television.
Sure.
We don't need any proof that it's legit. All that does is create angst and anxiety, I think, amongst it creates another level of tension in the room. And sometimes the talking heads cannot control the audience. I just don't see how it serves the narrative.
I mean, I could tell you this. I mean, just from a speaking standpoint, I'd have an easier time speaking in front of a crowd than not. I think just the energy.
It's all more reason to take them out.
But I'm saying, I think it leads to better speaking, because I get energy from the crowd.
But see, I'm saying the idea of the podcast would be that we wouldn't want a performance.
Oh, I get that.
Honest conversation.
I get that, and I'm not saying it's a performance. I'm saying it's.
You don't think that was a performance by those folks?
I mean, there's always everything a politician does has some element of performance. Right. Even if they're on a podcast, there's gonna be some element of performance. The words they choose, the mannerisms, they're coached to the nth degree on how you move your shoulders, how you move your hands, how you accentuate
but
points.
A podcast would disrupt all that. which should be
It
great.
would
To a
as
certain
much as
degree.
it could. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's still going to be.
Okay.
We can't eliminate theater from
Okay.
that at all. So I just think, I think the idea is great, and I think that would be amazing if it happened. The only concern I have is how do you rein in 5 people at a table, like sitting here like this? That would be like sticking 4 more people around here and let's talk this shit out. It'd be hard I mean, because it would be great if they were civilized human beings and respected each other's speaking.
I think they would have to.
I don't think they would.
Well,
no.
then
I don't think
that's
they would,
going to
dude.
show the American people what they need to see, that they can't control their temper.
But I see it differently. I see the people will look at it as they're passionate, they're spirited about their job.
Maybe
They're spirited. I just think. I mean, look, I love the idea. If you can convince Joe Rogan to throw all of them on a fucking podcast, that would be amazing.
Do you remember? You might be too young for this.
Probably I am.
Probably not.
If you're saying that, I'm definitely.
I don't know for certain, but I somehow kind of somewhat remember Larry King
Okay.
sitting down on his talk show.
Okay.
And I think he might have had Ross Perot on with Bill Clinton or with George Bush. Did Larry King
I
have
no idea.
all 3 of them on air at one time?
Dude, I was probably.
I don't know.
A baby.
Something it might have just been Ross Perot by himself. It's possible. Well, I think that's valuable too. If Rogan could get Trump and could get Biden or whoever ends up being the nominee, or whoever.
I still think Rogan
one-on-one,
has
they
to
got to
interview
do it.
Trump, no matter what happens.
I think it's probably already been set up.
I think he has to.
But I think he should also interview the president of the United States.
I-
It won't happen.
I mean,
It'll never happen.
it would be great to try. Like, do you think Joe Biden, and again, this is not saying politics. This is just based upon mental acuity and mental health. Do you think he could sit in a room with Joe Rogan for 3 hours and answer questions off the cuff? His fucking brain would
He's
melt.
not capable.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why it won't happen.
And that fact should terrify
It
most
does.
Americans.
It terrifies me.
But there's half of our society where it does not bother at all.
I understand this. That's where we are as a country.
It doesn't even matter. The substance and the philosophy, all put aside, is irrelevant to the point that the man cannot verbally communicate
Yeah.
in a conversation to present to the American people
Yeah.
for 10 minutes, let alone 3 hours.
Yeah. I completely. It is a terrifying thing.
Right.
It is a terrifying state of affairs we're in right now.
So, in that process, as a Joe Q citizen here, or Joe Q public, Joe Q
Joe Q.
citizen,
Yeah, we'll go with that.
something like that. How does the mechanism work with the Democratic Party now in regards to the presidency? So there's
Okay.
party politics and there's the administrative branch of our government.
Okay.
Theoretically, the day in, day out operations of the administrative branch of our government should not have direct connection with the political arm that he happens to be associated with.
Sure.
Would you not agree there should be some kind of?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yes.
I don't think there is.
No.
On any side. I
No,
think
not at
they're
all.
entrenched
It's
on
all one
both.
system, in my opinion.
Okay, so who are the powers that be that make the ultimate determination of whether he's going to be the nominee or he needs to step down?
I think the Democratic Party, the National Party.
Who is that?
Well, who really runs this fucking government? For all I know,
Well, that's what I mean. Like it's
I don't
a
know.
very interesting circumstance. It's almost somewhat like the emperor has no clothes, because can people be honest with him about his limitations? People around him, can they walk him in? Or is there a squeeze play going on now with these charges against Hunter that are going to squeeze his and say, hey, this is not going to be good going forward, but we can make it go away if you happen to just gracefully bow out? I mean, is he susceptible to that stuff?
I don't think he's going to run again. Let's be realistic. I'm
very realistic. I think he's going to try.
I don't think he will. I think it's talk now to it's a misdirection right now, is what I believe. They're talking about, oh yeah, Biden's gonna be, I know, he's not gonna be the nominee. There's no fucking way. One, he's too old. Two, he doesn't have the mental capacity to do it. Three, the Hunter shit's out there. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. So if he is the nominee, he will get destroyed in every debate, in every political ad. It'll all be about Hunter. It'll all be about your corrupt crime family. Like, there's no way. Those three things alone will not, the Democratic Party will not allow him to be the nominee.
So who in the Democratic Party?
I don't know how that system works.
What little cabal in there?
Someone makes that decision. I have no idea who.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Position in the land,
Yeah.
the guy sitting in, most powerful person theoretically in the world.
Yeah.
Scary as that is.
Yeah.
Is not in charge ultimately of his political future.
Yeah. I mean,
how's that work?
There's a lot of things in government I don't know that work. Like, that is one of the ones that I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. That's a good question. Like, I don't know who makes that decision or how that process works in the Democratic Party. I have no idea. But I don't think, just from an optics standpoint and just if you're looking from an outsider in, there's no way in hell that dude will be the nominee. He's going to be a zillion years old. Like,
I get it.
He trips over fucking grass. Like, let's be realistic. Do you think he can campaign? Like, we're not going to have COVID this time.
No,
like, we're not going to have this thing to keep everybody at bay, so the campaigning's easy. That's not going to be the case. He's not going to be. It's going to be Newsom, I think.
I just am fascinated as who walks in. And
yeah, no, I
tells
agree.
him,
It's a fascinating
who walks
thing.
in and tells him that your time's up, Joe. We're not going to go forward with this.
The
and
fucking
what leverage?
toothfairy.
And if he fights back, because he's a 80-plus-year-old gentleman he might be in a position mentally where he's going to be, feisty, maybe, and he fights back against being told that, like, what leverage could possibly be used against him to convince him to do so?
Just give him a fucking ice cream cone and a fucking pudding cup and go put him in the corner and be like, dude, here, like, ride out your days eating ice cream. Like, just do that. Like, just go away. Because again, no matter who wins, I want someone that has intellect and has the capacity mentally and physically to run this country, whether a Republican or a Democrat.
100%.
That's all I want. That's all I care about. Like, just someone that can actually put a fucking sentence together and can actually walk up steps without falling. That's a pretty low bar. I feel like it's a pretty low bar.
He's having trouble reading out of a teleprompter right now.
He's having trouble with life.
Yeah. I still think this podcast idea.
I listen. I love the idea. I love the idea.
For their handling debates.
Listen, I think that's a great idea. I think that would be amazing if it happened.
What about if it was just think about how great this would be. Let's just say maybe we only go for this idea when we narrow it down to the Democratic candidate and the Republican
They'd
candidate.
never fucking agree
Set
to
those
it.
two guys in there.
They would never. I mean, that would be amazing. They would never agree to it. Their handlers would never let them agree to it.
You don't think if it was like Newsom and Trump, they wouldn't do that?
Because here's why. They know what the debate questions are going to be, pretty much, right?
I could still tell them.
You think if Rogan gets them on his podcast, he's like, hey guys, we're going to do this, but I'm going to let you know what I'm going to ask you. That's not, he would never do it that way.
Can't you let them know, like, these are the areas we're going to go, boom, 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 and then let the conversations go where it's at?
They want to know how to address
What? Well, that's not,
things.
well, you know what? I think that sucks.
Listen, that's the
If
process,
they can't think
though.
on their feet, then fuck them.
That's the process. Trump
should-
could think on his feet.
Well,
Whether he was right or wrong with what he said, he always had an answer.
he's not intimidated by it, right? But I would think that, we got to be entering a new era where you need to really be able to think on your feet because of all the media that's there hitting you all the time. But you should be able to sit down and carry on a conversation,
It's a lost art, man. It's a lost art.
even in politics.
I think it's a lost art in general.
Yeah, I don't know. So, slight right turn. Sadly, there was definitely a racially motivated killing the other day in Jacksonville.
Really?
3 people passed away. Yeah,
wow.
I think it happened yesterday. And of course, the gun debate, and where I'm going with this is the gun debate is, I think, going to be, along with the abortion issue, are going to rear its head in this general election, maybe like it never has been before.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever asked you head to head. I mean, I I believe that you are like me. You're definitely. I don't know if you're pro NRA. Maybe you are. I don't know.
Second, I
But you're
believe the
definitely
Second
pro
Amendment.
Second Amendment.
Yeah, I believe
Yeah,
the Second
I think
Amendment.
I think most Americans probably are. The NRA being basically a private group.
Yes.
Whether you agree with them or not, I don't know. My question to you is, if someone put you on the spot and asked you, based upon what's going on now, do you see an avenue that would try to mend both sides of the argument? Do you see any way to, I don't know if it's through background checks, Rocco, I don't know what is through. Is there a way to try to show both sides that there needs to be some kind of cohesion for us to go forward as a country, instead of using guns as a complete political football every election cycle?
Well, so I think that's a thoughtful question, and I think it lends itself to a diverse answer, because I don't think there's one answer to it. I think when it comes to the gun debate, I think there's not one solution to it, right? I think there's so many pieces to it. I think, could we tighten up background checks? Sure. Could we put processes in place to better vet people? Absolutely. But crime is crime. And that's we're also not talking about that. Eliminating guns does not eliminate crime, right? If that was the case, guns would have been eliminated a long time ago. Like in all throughout history, right? Plain and simple. We have a mental health crisis. We need to better equip our officers on the street. We need better training. We need better mental health support. And we do need to tighten up certain regulations. I'm sure I don't know much. I'm not a gun owner, so I don't know the whole process, but sure, like I believe there should be some level of background checks. You shouldn't be able to just walk into a store and buy a gun without having some sort of background check. However, where I get caught up and what, to me, the Second Amendment is the Second Amendment, like the second fundamental right that was given in our Constitution. If you start attacking that, what's going to stop you from attacking everything else? The First Amendment, the right to vote, like all of these things. This is what people don't understand. Like, it has unintended consequences and collateral damage. You start allowing the attack on one amendment, and then you give in to that attack. Where does it stop? The same thing with COVID, right? Look at the same thing. Like, you give them an inch, they take a mile. That's what happened through all of this. I think the same thing would happen with the gun debate. We need to have a better discussion about it. We can't just keep pointing to guns are the problem. Crime is the problem. Crime is the problem. They're criminals. If they want to do harm, they're going to find a way to do harm. They will find a way. They will steal a gun. They can steal a gun from a lawful citizen who acquired it lawfully through the background check process. If they want to commit crime, they can steal the gun. Like, that's what people aren't understanding. It's not just like, I'm a good citizen, now I have a gun, I'm going to commit crime. Like, you're a criminal. You're a fucking criminal. Like, eliminating guns doesn't eliminate criminals. I'm sorry, it's just not. And we keep getting caught up with this gun debate. You got to eliminate guns. See, like, that's not the case.
So my position's always been the following, and it really has never changed, because it's never made any sense to me.
Okay.
It seems like the people that are the loudest for gun control also are people who oftentimes don't want to assign blame for bad human acts.
Correct.
And why that goes together is, those folks tend to find excuses for why people do the things they do.
Yes.
Sometimes they're doing it out of their own free will because they're just fucked up.
They're just bad people.
Just bad people.
There's evil in the world.
Those people also tend to blame inanimate objects for the actions of humans.
Correct.
And see, no one's ever provided me a better argument that the quote unquote lack of a word that trumps that argument for me. You can't blame a murder for the instrument that was used.
Correct.
There are tactical weapons in our military that I honestly believe do not belong in the hands of society, because they kill people on a mass basis. I don't believe you should have rocket launchers and shoot them, and you're allowed to shoot them on Fifth Avenue. I don't believe you should have a flamethrower. There are things that I don't believe should be And I'm talking about a pure assault weapon, which are not the things that are out in society, but
Sure.
the ones that we have, the pure assault, fully automatic weapons. They don't belong out there because they're weapons of war.
Yeah.
But to blame the instrument for the killing and not the person who did the killing, and then examine why that person was inclined to do that, and then try to fix that, is literally just it's just drivel, because it's never going to help correct and find a solution to the problem, and that is the harm and death of other humans.
Yeah, we need to look at the people and what's causing the action. The object isn't causing the action. There's something to it. The object is just the means of destruction. Like, that's what, because think about it. Okay, you eliminate guns. Okay, they'll find knives. They kill with knives, or they kill with cars. Like, right?
Baseball.
Like, they were like, okay, you have all these criminals that will drive a car into a crowd of people. Should we eliminate cars?
It's the instrument. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they, guns have a lawful purpose, right? Cars have a lawful purpose. Cars probably kill more people than guns every year. Statistically, do we eliminate cars?
Well, it's the circumstance too is that you start removing things and putting laws against being able to defend yourself. The criminals aren't going to care about that.
They don't give a shit.
It's only going to matter in the end. It's just going to be the criminals having the guns, and that, people say, "Oh, that's just a stigma." No, it's not. That's the factual outcome that you can foresee down in the future. Right. You start taking the guns away.
Criminals are criminals. If you disarm law-abiding citizens, the criminals can commit more crime.
Why? How does that thought process work? Like, why do you think we've got people in this society that are so inclined to not want to fully prosecute crime?
That is the biggest question in my head, that I don't understand how we even got here. Like, how we say, "Oh, you don't need to get prosecuted. It's crime." Like, what the like all these people going in and just looting and stealing
In our bigger cities.
in these bigger cities, like, we don't prosecute. So it's okay. So you're basically saying that is no longer a crime.
Right, assign a dollar value to
Right,
it.
because you're not going to prosecute. So I'm just going to go in and just steal what I want. Like who? Like, what the fuck?
Well, I think that's all. I'm hoping all that nonsense from 2020 on about all of that defund the police and all. I think that the experiments that were tried in those certain cities, it's failed, and I'm hoping it's starting to be walked back now. But the damage has certainly been done.
Correct, and that's what, like, the criminal justice system needs reformed. There's so many things that need reformed in this country. Like, I believe, like, even the pay of district attorneys. Like, my dream job out of law school was to be a prosecutor, but I had a son and I couldn't afford to take that job. Like, that's the problem. Like, they don't get paid enough, prosecutors. They should be paid more, because then you'll get the best of the best out of law school.
Right.
I would have loved to have been a prosecutor until I found out what they made. And I'm like, I cannot afford to be a prosecutor. I have a son to raise. I have student loans to pay. I had to take a job at a big firm. They pay me 3 times the amount the DA's office would have.
Right.
Like, that's the problem. Like, with the whole system is broken.
Yeah, it's like, and I feel terrible every time I see a mass killing. I don't think any American, regardless of your political bent, no one is going to feel good about that.
No, not at all. It's terrible.
But it's almost like as soon as there is one, then you want to blame the gun.
Right. We don't want to call into question the root
And I'm not a
cause.
gun owner. Like, I'm not coming from this from a stance that I'm not a
Neither am I.
I'm not a hunter. I don't do those things. It's like it's always been with me. It's about the Second Amendment, and it's also been about logic to me. Blaming an inanimate object for the actions of a human.
Yes.
And supposedly humans, what separates us from the animal kingdom is we have free will and we can reason, right? So with reason comes responsibility. But to absolve responsibility of the human because they just couldn't help themselves because that damn gun did all the bad work is so elementally bad that a grade school kid will see how illogical it is. But here we are.
Well,
every time there's a mass shooting.
And I think a lot of it has to do with, if you look statistically at these people that are doing these mass shootings, they fall into one of these other categories, right? And they don't want to offend people. They don't want people to think they're targeting a certain demographic or a certain characteristic of society. Like that's that's how I see a lot of it. So they don't talk about the mental health issue that's behind it. It's like, no, we got to eliminate guns. It's like, well, how about we just talk? Maybe the guns are part of the problem, but it's not the problem. We need to look at the holistic nature of the problem to find a solution. And I think we need to get back to being able to have debate without offense. Like that's the problem. Because we get so offended by everything, we lose the ability to debate major issues that need a two-sided solution. And because we don't have that ability to debate without offending or getting offended by someone, those solutions are not put on the table. So guns is the easy thing to point out. Guns, no, it's not guns. It's like, okay, like, no, there's more to it than just that. We need to be big boys and girls and sit in the room and have a discussion.
The argument ultimately is when you look at the murder rates, and they will, a person that's anti-gun will compare other countries with very strict gun laws and very minimal murders, compared to the United States, and that's their rationale.
Sure.
Is that, well, we just need to be like these other countries who have their, that have their murder rates under control. We just
and
need
they have
to
a
pull back
tenth
on
of the population we have here.
They also usually don't have the same level of freedoms that we have.
Correct. With freedom comes responsibility. And the problem is we're not willing to make people accountable. We always want to take the easy way out by blaming the gun or blaming someone else. We never want to say, no, that's just a fucked up person. Like that person needed some mental health help and didn't get it. The system failed that person. It's like, nope, it wasn't the person, it was the gun. Eliminate the guns. It's like, well, that's not the case.
Do you think that rational gun owners and those who are anti-gun will ever come together and sit down and say, okay, can we have background checks of this veracity? Would that work? Can we hash out things to try to maybe, correct loopholes in the systems that do put excessive amounts of weapons out there unchecked?
Honestly, I don't know that we'll see
lack
that.
of trust on both sides.
Yeah, I think, and again, until you have the politicians at the top being willing to engage in that debate, it's not going to roll downhill. And I just think we won't see that in our lifetime, unfortunately. I think it's because it's become such an issue that is so easy to campaign on. That there's never gonna be a, hey, let's come together, let's talk about this.
It's like there's two big clubs.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Which club do you belong to?
Yes. And there's not going to be a third club.
And each party wants to adopt the club that they choose.
Yep.
And use it as a sledgehammer.
Correct.
Mr. Trump coughs right away when I say that name.
No.
So it's interesting. This fourth indictment with Fannie Willis from Fulton County, Georgia, is going to, which was the fourth indictment levied on him, but it's also the first one where there's going to be hearings, because I guess tomorrow.
Well, yeah, the hearing tomorrow is, I think, Mark Meadows' challenge to move it to federal court. So it's a hearing. I think Fannie Willis has to present evidence as to why it should not be removed to federal court. He's trying to remove it to federal court to raise a federal immunity defense, saying he's immune because the actions were under when he was chief of staff of the president. So he's saying that he has federal immunity from any prosecution for any acts engaged while he was in office, which is a pretty good argument.
Is that so? Because I always thought there was a very clear delineation between like local, state, and federal court systems. You're saying that this can actually be taken to federal court, same charges, but just be tried there.
Because what he's saying is they charged them for things that happened around January 6th. Yeah. Trump was still in office.
Okay.
Mark Meadows was still the chief of staff. They're saying that you're being indicted for the actions you took during that time. He's saying, well, it happened while I was chief of staff of the president. Therefore, I'm raising a federal immunity defense. Therefore, that needs to be in federal court, the case.
Can't Trump argue the exact same
I'm sure
thing?
He probably will. I'm sure there will be a lot of arguments about it. I was watching some analyst, I can't remember which, it wasn't on Fox, it was on some other show, but it was talking about, it was a legal analyst saying he doesn't think this case will hold water because there's presidential immunity. Like, it's just like, that's why a lot of this, I believe, is a political spectacle.
Well, they're also going to. So correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if it's not Kevin McCarthy, but I think Jim Jordan.
Jordan
is going to of the Judiciary Committee.
Yeah.
The House Judiciary Committee was going to start investigating.
Yes. See if she used any federal funds for any of the.
I think I think they're saying she's campaigning on.
Well, there's that, but the investigation is, did she use any federal funds during this to help this investigation into Trump? Because you can't do that. So they're looking into that, and then also the fact that she's campaigning. I think that just calls into question why it was politically motivated.
Finding the motivation,
but they've got it. But if she used federal funds, that's part of the. That's why I think they gave her till September 7th or something to turn over all communications regarding this to see if any federal funds were used.
So what you just said brings up a whole nother question I've always had
Sure.
about the law.
You're assuming I know the answer.
Isn't it interesting? No, but I think it's relevant.
Okay.
Relevant. Isn't it interesting when there's an accusation made like that by the Judiciary Committee against this prosecutor, and they claim that they need all this communication to make a judgment, but then they end up giving people long periods of time to produce things. And the longer these periods of times go on, wouldn't that lead the average Joe Q public to look at that and go, well, look at all that time they have to fudge everything.
Well, that's illegal.
Duh.
I'm just saying. Well, I mean,
but
look.
saying,
I mean, you go to jail for shit like that. Like a certain.
supposedly,
Here's my thing. Like
system of justice moves slow in the public's eye.
Well, I think that the justice system in general moves slow. I mean, there's just time frames on everything. Like that's if you look at, if I file a complaint against someone in a lawsuit, they have 30 or 60 days to respond. Then they respond. Then I could file preliminary reject. It may be like we've had cases that are going on over a year that weren't even at any dispositive place in the case. Then it takes 2 years to go to trial. So yeah, it's just a slow process.
I don't think the average public actually knows that. They really understand how slow the wheels of justice move.
They move fucking super slow. Like
slow
motion.
So all four of these indictments against Trump might not be resolved for years from now.
Well, I think they said Fannie was trying to get a trial date in October for this, which is fucking crazy. Like, it'll never happen.
So that screams political motivation.
You think? Yeah. There's a look again. Whether Trump did something wrong or not, I don't know. But it's pretty interesting how all of a sudden, within an election year or close to an election year, you have 4 indictments coming down.
Agreed.
On shit that's all kind of speculative stuff. That it's all up to interpretation. There's no real clear-cut violation. Typically,
no smoking gun.
There's no smoking gun. We don't have a fucking bloody knife. We don't have Trump standing over a body. It's all very circumstantial, but enough to distract everybody. Mm-hmm. But again, like I said earlier, I think it's not doing what they want. I mean, he's polling even better now.
The mug shot.
I mean, there were so many videos this weekend of them interviewing people in the street. Like, Trump's my boy. He's got a mugshot now. Like, again, like if you were trying to get Trump to be hated by the average American on the street, like you just fucking made him their hero. Like his mugshot's the fucking best. Like if you see it, it's fucking unbelievable. It's a great. Like I want to make a T-shirt with it. People already make. He's just like
he staged it.
But that's him.
I get it.
Like,
oh no, I get it.
Here's why people like it.
I get it.
Here's what I think is happening. People are seeing like how bullshit the system is. People are seeing the system's fucked up. Whether you're a Republican or Democrat, both sides looking at it like we've lost our fucking mind. This is crazy. Okay. Then you have someone like this, like to indict him, to have a fucking mugshot. Like, what the fuck is going on? Then you have that Oliver Anthony guy, the song, like because everybody likes it on both sides. Now the liberal media is trying to say it's racist because he says overweight and welfare. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And I think people in America are starting to wake up and realizing that the establishment, the media is telling us what we should think is racist or wrong or offensive. And we're like, that's really not. Like, that's really not. Like, that this is kind of fucked up what's happening. Like, indicting the president on 4 different occasions for shit they haven't really said what he did.
But isn't that part of what she's supposed to do tomorrow? Is supposed
Well,
to
she
lay
has
out
to.
the
She has to be able to
charges?
show that it stays in state court. Like she's arguing against it being removed to federal court. It's not the whole case. It's just
Okay.
the Meadows hearing tomorrow.
So Nikki Haley's trying to make hay because she's saying that President Trump is going to be distracted with multiple cases and court dates and all this during the campaigning,
Yeah.
and the Democrats going to win because he's not going to be campaigning at full strength. That's
Right.
her play.
That's her Hail Mary. That's her Hail Mary. I mean, what else is she going to say? Like, she's not going to get the nomination, so what else can she say?
But that is not really endearing her, I wouldn't think, to
No.
President Trump.
No. And again, this is what pisses me off so bad about the Republican Party is like, instead of like saying, hey, we are all on the stage, have different views. We don't have to agree. Let's not fucking attack one another. Like, we are trying to right the ship that we call America and make the country better. If we sit here and piss in each other's Wheaties, how can we do that?
Yeah.
Right. Let's be above that. Let's show unity within the party. We can debate. We can have differences. We don't have to just throw insults or get angry with one another. Let's just debate the issues. But again, we can never even fucking do that. And that's what's so frustrating to me.
Why do you think that is?
Because it's politics. It's like a sport. I mean, think about it. It really is. I mean, when you think about it, like, I know, like, I sit there and say that, but I'm probably on the stage. I'd probably be doing the same fucking thing. It's the adrenaline. It's like, no, fuck you, dude. Like, you would just get mad. Like, I think I sit
Would
here and-
you?
yeah, I'm sure I would. Like, I know. I'm an adrenaline junkie. Like, I'm competitive by nature. I'm also very mild mannered, right? So in my normal life, I'm pretty laid back. But you put me in a competitive arena, like, gloves are off. Like, gloves are off. And I won't throw the first punch, but if someone throws the first punch, I'm just like, it's on. Like, good night.
Rocco has that selective stoicism.
I do. I really do. 'Cause you're 100% right, because it takes a lot to get me to that point. I can be very stoic. I can brush things off like no other. But if I'm in a situation that's meant to be competitive,
Rise to the occasion.
I will rise to the occasion every fucking day. And I'm not going to attack you first. But the moment you do, gloves are off. Done.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I keep thinking every time we plan these shows out for the week, and it's like, I think this is like, But in the end, I just have to accept the fact that this political season is going to take up all the oxygen in the news. It's just, I mean,
It really is, man. It really is.
But the average person on the street, I wonder if we fully understand that the indictments and all that are going to play out potentially long past the election. I think there's a case of thought for those who really despise the man that it's all going to get wrapped up in a way it's going to put him in handcuffs and put him in jail before the election.
We are not going to see Trump in handcuffs. I'd be willing to bet money on that.
Well, I will tell you this. It's going to be a fascinating constitutional crisis if he does happen to get indicted before he takes office, because before we wrap it up, I might have touched on it last week, but I'll ask the question again. Let's just look at the Fulton County indictment. Let's just say, hypothetically, just play along with me here. Let's just say she gets her way, it goes quick, he gets indicted a month before the general election next year. Let's say October of next year, he gets
convicted,
sentenced.
Okay.
He's convicted a month prior, he's sentenced.
Okay.
I know, crazy timetable.
Okay.
But let's say he's convicted. The judge determines the sentence, or does the jury determine the sentence? Or is there a statute of
there would be, depending on the crime, there's a certain,
statute of sentences?
There's a certain, yes.
Okay.
But then the judge would determine what that sentencing is.
Okay, so let's just say he gets accused of something and it's 5 years in prison is the minimum and the maximum is 15. The judge decides to give him 7 years.
Okay.
I'm just throwing this out there.
Okay.
There's a point to this.
Sure.
Okay. Naturally, that'll be appealed and there'll be all kinds of additional litigation down the line. But at that moment, he gets 7 years. To the average citizen, They would then handcuff him and take him off to jail. If he was an average citizen, wasn't
Sure.
the president of the United States.
Sure.
Does the judge have the ability to say, because of this incredible circumstance where he may be president of the United States come January, I'm going to stay his punishment or whatever that prison term is until he's out of office?
The judge can do that.
I
Yeah,
can
believe
stay
so.
it indefinitely. I can commit him to house arrest after his
the
term
judge-
is
I think
over.
a judge can do
so
that,
the
yeah.
judge has the judge has the power to do that.
Yeah, the judge doesn't have to sentence him. I mean, that's, I believe so. Every state laws are a little bit different, right? But I assume so. Yeah, the judge could commute the sentence, could, stay the sentence. Yeah.
What if he doesn't?
I have no idea what will happen there. That's
So-
the constitutional crisis.
So he gets arrested, puts the clinks on the wrist. He gets walked out of there, and then he wins the election the next month, and then by January he has to be sworn in as president. Is he sworn in the jailhouse? Is he starting to serve
don't know.
from his cell?
That's a good question. I have no idea. That's a great question. No idea. We've never had this happen.
Because that's what the average citizen can't wrap their head, me included, certainly can't wrap our heads around.
I'm a lawyer. I can't wrap my head around. I don't even know. Honestly, we've never faced that. I don't know if there's any laws on the books. I mean, the requirements to be president are age and natural born citizen. Doesn't say no criminal record. It doesn't say not in jail. I mean, when you think about it, the Constitution has the requirements to be president. Was it 34 years old and natural born citizen? Doesn't say can't be in jail, can't be a convicted felon, can't be any of this shit. It's so constitutional crisis, my friend. That's what it is. That's what it will be.
Something just tells me that's going to happen.
Let's see what the Simpsons say about it over the next year. I'm sure there'll be an episode about it, or maybe we'll go back. I'll have to go back and watch all the Simpsons. It's probably there somewhere. They predict the future, so if we see Trump in jail as the
Or if,
president,
even if he wins and he takes office and then he's convicted. Now, they can't convict a sitting president, right? How's that work? If you're a sitting president, can you not be convicted during your presidency?
Oh man, you're asking me a lot of law questions that I don't have any idea.
You're the one who went to law school, not me.
we didn't learn about convicting presidents. I mean, I'm not a constitutional scholar. I'm a business lawyer.
But these questions are going to become very relevant.
Yeah.
Very soon.
That's why you're gonna start seeing all these legal scholars and legal analysts start talking about this stuff. That people that do that study constitutional law. Like, I do not study that.
All right, buddy.
Yeah. See you in a week.
See you in a week. Next week, Tuesday, right?
Tuesday, yeah, day after Labor Day. Yep.
To all y'all, thank you
Yep.
so much. Can't make half this shit up. Here you go. Have a great week.
See ya. Good stuff, man.
I'm trying to stop it. Hello.
Just stop it.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying to stop. There you go. It'll stop. Now it'll stop.